This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going back to 1962, where at that time the Cold War was going on between the United States and the Soviet Union, and there was a crisis going on. And it was 13 days long. We're looking at 13 days, the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is a two-player card-driven game inspired by, say, Twilight Struggle, making of 1960, has that historic flair, but it's only for two players, but it plays very quickly in 30 to 45 minutes. Let me show you. Now we have the board set up for 13 days, and notice the board does start with one cube of USSR on both Cuba and Berlin, and the United States has a cube on Turkey and Italy. Also, we have some markers for the DEFCON track. We'll talk about that in just a moment. The game is played over 3 rounds. At the end of the third round, there's an aftermath, which is essentially final scoring. And at that point, at the end of final scoring, whatever side this prestige marker is on, regardless of number, whatever side it's on, that side would win. If it's in the middle, there's a personal letter. Whoever has that wins. That's a tiebreaker for the game, and it starts in the United States' hands. Now back to this DEFCON track. These start here. Basically, there's 3 different tracks on DEFCON. The closer you get up and the higher you go from DEFCON 3, 2, and 1, the closer you are to nuclear war. This is a way that any person can possibly lose the game right away. Here we have a DEFCON track that's orange, and it's for military. Green, political, and purple is for world opinion. If at any time, any one of the players gets all the way up into either one of these rows on DEFCON 1. So any one of these markers in any of these 6 spots, at the end of the round, if it's still there, they automatically lose. It's possible that actually both people can lose and nobody wins the game. Now also, you'll see this 9 spots here all have this nuclear icon on them. If at any time at the end of a round, one player has all 3 of his markers on any of these 3 rows here, that's another way to lose the game. But they start down here in specific spots, and we start the round. The first thing that happens is everybody's DEFCON marker moves up 1. Even in the first round, everybody's moves up 1, just like that, and that's how it pretty much starts in the beginning of the first round. Now, each player is going to get 3 agenda cards. These are secret goals for this specific round. Once they have those cards, they're going to place their flags on the board in those 3 spots. So let's say after they've got their 3 cards, they place their flags there, and this is how we know that each team is going for one of these 3 goals this round. Those players will then, from those 3 cards, select one to be the secret goal. He'll put the other 2 and shuffle them back into this secret agenda deck, and they'll place the other one near their board face down. So for example, the United States would put their agenda just like this, and the USSR would do the same on the other side of the board. Now each player is going to get 5 of these strategy cards that they'll use for the round, and the player who's losing gets to say who goes first. When it's tied, the USSR gets to decide who goes first. In this game, a lot of times it's better to go second. Now these cards are kept secret from the other player, but there's 3 types of cards. One of them is for the Soviets, one of them is the United Nations, which are neutral, and the other ones are the United States. Let's say we're the United States right now, and it's our turn to play. Let's play one of these cards and show you how it works. Let's say that we play this neutral card. What this allows us to do is either play what's called a command of 2 cubes to any one area, or we can play the event on the card. This is to the brink, and this says basically play on an opponent. All their command actions, which are these, have 1 minus cube. So basically for the rest of the round, they would have 1 less cube every time they use one of these actions. I'm not going to use that. I'm actually going to play this for 2 cubes, and we'll show you, and then this would go to a discard pile. So let's say I take my 2 cubes, and I got to put them in any one area. I can't like split them up, but I can put them literally anywhere. And you don't have to put all 2. You can put up to 2. Now I put them here. Now anytime you place your first cube, you do that for free. Anytime you place another cube after the first, for every one that you do that, you move up this DEFCON. So this is green, political. Green, political. The United States goes up 1 on the DEFCON trap because they put 1 cube more than 1. If they had placed a 3rd cube here, the card did not allow that, but if they did, this would go up 1 more. So anytime you place on the board more than 1, you're going up on that DEFCON track. Now let's say it's now the USSR's turn and they play a card on their side. Anytime you play a card from your own side, just like if it was a neutral card, you can play it for either the command cubes anywhere, or you can do it for this here. Now this says place up to 3 influence cubes in total, or 1 on both Cuba battlegrounds. So let's go take a look at this. Let's do this event here. So here's the Cuba battlegrounds. I get to put 3 cubes onto 1 or both. So I'm going to put 1 here, and then I'm going to put 2 here because this is one of the US goals, and they just went there. So are they really going for this goal, or are they bluffing to maybe go here later at the very end of the round to sweep this one up? So I put this here. Now here I only put 1 cube, here I put 2, and again, because I put 2 here, that's 1 more than 1. We'd go up 1 on this DEFCON track. So there they go, they go up like that. Now I do want to mention a couple of things here. You can never have more than 5 cubes in any one area. So if this one had 5, they could never add any more. Now as DEFCON goes up, as you add cubes as we've shown before, right now the United States is pretty close that if the round ended now, they would lose immediately by the nuclear war, because all 3 of theirs are in DEFCON 2. So when you play a card, let's say they played a card with 3 command cubes. They don't have any, let's say they're out of cubes. You only start with, I believe, 17 of these cubes. Once they're all gone, you can't place anymore. You have to play cards to take them back. So let's say I played a card with 3 command. They could go 1, 2, 3 from one area, and they take them back. This gets affected just like this. So because there's 2 more cubes than 1, they would come down 2 in the DEFCON track and be a little bit safer in the World Opinion purple one, so that this DEFCON track goes up and down as you place or take off cubes as the game goes on. Now let's say it's the United States team again. If you play a card from the other side, you have to use it for these command cubes, but before you do that, you give the card to the other player, and the other player can enact this event if they like. For example, USA played this, they'd give it to the Russian player. The Russian player could play up to 4 influence cubes in total on battlegrounds where they've already played, max 2 per battleground. So the max is 2, so I'll place 2 here, and I'll place 1 here and 1 here, because I get to place up to 4 now. Because I only placed 1 in these, I didn't go off on the DEFCON track, but here I actually did. So in this case, because I put 2, I would go up 1 in this DEFCON track, which is interesting because this is one of the United States goals, and he's behind me here. So maybe he's probably not going for this one, but we're kind of watching for that because we're not quite sure. And this event had that DEFCON symbol because, as you just saw, this tells you that when you do this event, there's a possibility that you'll have to use the DEFCON track there. So then the United States would then do his command of 3 cubes and then discard the card. So now the United States goes 1, 2, 3. Remember, you have to put them all in the same one up to the amount. Now I went 2 over 1, so they're going to go up 2 in the DEFCON track. So now you're thinking, maybe the United States is going for this goal. But we got to watch out because this is their goal too. Which one are they fighting for? Tough. Now that's it. So then you keep going like this until you've played 4 cards. Remember, you start with 5. So once you've played your 4 and you have your 5th, you place it face down the aftermath. What you're trying to do is place cubes or command numbers with your side. So if I was the USSR player, I'd want to put this down here. If I was the United States, I want to put this down here. So it's interesting because you need to put these down. This is going to be the end game scoring, but those cards do well for you. So it's hard because you got to give them up for later goals. So let's say the round ended. We would take the agendas from both teams. Here's the United States. They were going for Atlantic. The USSR was going for Berlin. So let's do this. Atlantic. How this works is, now this Atlantic is tied with this ring here, and you'll see it says plus X. You get the difference between your cubes and the other team's cubes. So right now there's 3 here. If the USSR had this, the difference would only be 1 for the United States, but they're getting 3 points here, plus the amount of places in this ring that all say plus X that they control. Now they don't control this one, and they don't control this one. So right now they're basically getting 3 prestige this round. If they controlled this one and this one, it would have been 3 plus 1 plus 1. It would have been 5. That's huge. But right now they just got 3. Berlin, they also have 3. So this basically is 3 to 3. So nothing would have happened. We did not move this either way this round. These would get discarded out of the game. At this point, we would check for nuclear war. Look at this. The United States has already, early in the game, have 2 of theirs in this range. If this one came somewhere in this range and these stayed like this right now, the game would end, USA would lose. But there's no nuclear war, so we go to the next step, which is just advancing the round marker. We'd go to round 2, we'd do all that again. We'd go to round 3, do all that again, and then we'd go to Aftermath. Now before we do the agenda scoring in the round, we go through these world opinions and we activate these special abilities. So we don't have any cubes here right now, but let's just say this was here. United States would have won this, and they would get to move one of their DEFCON trackers up or down on any of the tracks, and they get to move their own. If it's a tie, nobody gets to do anything. Here, whoever would be winning this one, let's say the United States has it, they already have the personal letter, so they would keep it. If the USSR had the lead here, they would take this personal letter. Now remember, this personal letter is a tiebreaker at the end of the game if prestige is equal. Also, when using a command card for 2 cubes during the game, they can actually, instead of doing 2, do 1 more than that. They can put 3 down, but they have to use the personal letter and give this to the other player. So that can go back and forth. And then 3, whoever's winning this one, let's say it was in the United States, extra aftermath card. They would pull out a card from the deck and look at it, and if they want to add it, they would in this case because it's America, they would put it in the Aftermath deck. If not, they would discard it face up. So in the Aftermath stage, you would take all these up. You would put them by side, essentially. We'd go like this one would be like this, and these ones would be like this. We would add up the total amount of cubes on both sides. So here we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 5, 7. This player, the USSR, has more, so they would get, no matter how much, whoever wins and by how much, the winner of the Aftermath always gets 2 prestige. In this case, if the game ended like this, we go to the Aftermath, USSR got 2 prestige, 1, 2, they would have just won the game. If it was like this and they had just won that won it, they would go 2, 1, 2 would be tied. Whoever the personal letter is the winner, and that's how you play. Oh man, I am in love with this game. Now I gotta say, I've never played Twilight Struggle, but I've played other games by those same designers that have the same feel, making a 1960, Founding Fathers and such. And I always, with 1960, it comes out like once or twice a year because it takes me about 2.5 to 2 hours 15 minutes to play, and I enjoy it a lot, but it doesn't come out that much because it's just so long. And I've always wished that there would be a shorter version of this. Why did this hit the mark? Now it's clearly and openly said how this was inspired by the Twilight Struggle game, and you can definitely see that because I know about the game and I've never played it. Wow, this game is awesome. I mean, it's quick, it's streamlined, yet there is a ton of depth here. And the thing I like the most about this is, unlike Twilight Struggle, you don't have to always place where adjacent to where you are. It's more similar to 1960, where you can pretty much go anywhere. But the thing I like most about this game is that each round you have 3 possible goals that you're going for, and your opponent doesn't know which one you're choosing, but he knows it's one of those 3. This game is a lot about bluffing and, hey, I'm going to be doing this over here, but I'm really going for this here. I'm going to hammer you later in the round. And then, hey, even though if I'm going here and trying to mess you up earlier, mess you up now, make you think I'm going there, later on I might get that agenda card, or you might get it, and I might be able to go for this at a later round. Interesting mechanics of every time I add people or command to one area, the DEFCON goes up because you're putting more troops in there, but as you pull them off, it goes down, and it's that seesaw battle and that balance of, hey, I want to win these regions by a lot, but I'm going to move up in the DEFCON, and I can't go too far all in one because I'll lose, or I can't go up a lot of them in all 3 or I'll lose. And it reminded me a lot of that 7 Wonders duel mechanism with, sort of the military, where if I completely, you could end a game right away. Very, very interesting. I love this game. I love historical games. A game comes with a full, not just the rule book, but a full different book that talks about the history of what was going on and talks about each of the cards and how they played a part. I love it. Now, it did take me about 45 minutes to play this the first couple times, but after that, if you both know what you're doing, you can play this in closer to 30 minutes. And to have this much depth in a game with this much cat and mouse and bluffing, double bluffing, oh man, it takes, honestly, this will probably make me play 1960 less than I do even now because it gives me that same feel, and I still feel like I played a pretty deep game even though it's over very quickly. I know it's not even halfway through this year, but if this game is not at least nominated for 2-Player Game of the Year, it's going to be a travesty. That's how highly I think of this game. That's 13 Days, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter and making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.